Hi everyone, it's Jordan again, and for today we are going to be reading an Alistair Begg devotional. This devotional is entitled, If These Were Silent, and the Bible verse that goes along with it is Luke 19:40. I tell you, if these were silent, the very stones would cry out. Now, before we get into the devotional, I was curious as to what that verse meant. I didn't even really know where it came from, like what the context of it was, so I looked it up and found that this is in reference to Jesus' entry into Jerusalem. So Jesus rides into Jerusalem on a donkey, and as he's riding in, all these people are gathered around, and they're singing praises to him, they're crying out, they're just praising him. And the Pharisees are getting mad over this, and they say, Jesus, essentially, can't you make this stop? And Jesus' response is this verse, I tell you, if these were silent, the very stones would cry out. So now on to our devotion. Certainly, if they were to speak, they would have much to declare in praise of him who created them by the word of his power. They could extol the wisdom and power of their Maker who called them into being. Shall we not speak well of him who made us new? The old rocks could tell of chaos and order and the handiwork of God in successive stages of creation's drama. Are we not also able to talk of God's decrees, of God's great work in all that he did for his church? If the stones were to speak, they could tell of their breaker, how he took them from the quarry and made them fit for the temple. And aren't we also able to tell of our glorious breaker, who broke our hearts with the hammer of his word, that he might build us into his temple? If the stones should cry out, they would magnify their builder, who polished them and fashioned them into a beautiful palace. And shall not we talk of our architect and builder, who has put us in our place in the temple of the living God? If the stones should cry out, they might have a long, long story to tell by way of memorial, for many a time a great stone has been rolled as a memorial before the Lord, and we too can testify. Stones of help and pillars of remembrance. The broken stones of the law cry out against us, but Christ himself, who has rolled away the stone from the door of the tomb, speaks for us. Stones might well cry out, but we will silence their noise as we break into sacred song and bless the majesty of the Most High. We will spend all our days glorifying him whom Jacob calls the shepherd and the stone of Israel. So as I was kind of getting ready for this, I thought, going to bring some stones out to just kind of have in my background, and man, it took me a while to really find some, because I gotta be honest, stones are not really something that I even noticed. They were around the house, they were around the yard, but it took me a little bit of thinking and searching before I found any. Did you even notice them here in my background? I'm not sure how well you can see. These were from some sort of rock painting kit, which clearly aren't painted yet, but maybe one day. This one, this tiny one, was from a vase, and this really big one is from my mom's flower garden. In hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have taken this one. Remind me to put this one back when I'm done here. But the point is that these stones, that's not really something I would think about when I think of creation that praises God, right? Maybe I would think of a sunset or of a beautiful ocean or something colorful, a flower, a bird. But Jesus is saying that even the stones speak of his creation, something that's so small in my eyes, something that I just walk right past and glance right over and hardly even recognize. Even these are something that Jesus sees, that Jesus created. And all of his creation, including this, God uses. And it all speaks to God and speaks of God and cries out in praise to God. I thought that was really cool to think about that. And then I love how Alistair kind of shifts it each time along the way when he gives an example of how Jesus used the stones and how the stones kind of speak to Jesus and point to Jesus. Then he turned it on us, didn't he? Because see, here's the thing, is that we know that all of creation speaks of God, right? And speaks to God, even the stones, as we just learned. But see, we are part of that. And even more so, because we are made in God's image. We are meant to reflect God. We are meant to go out into a lost world and to speak God's light and God's truth, and to praise him openly and to testify of what he's done in our lives. We're meant to do that. So I love how he kind of talks about that in each stage. Let's go back through it. Shall we not speak well of him who made us new? How has God made you new? How has God transformed your life? How has he made you new? Aren't we also able to tell of our glorious breaker, who broke our hearts with the hammer of his word? Now, I wasn't sure I liked the word breaker to describe God, but I get what he's saying. He's kind of saying like the one who got our attention, the one who broke through the noise, the pain, the struggle we were going through, the darkness, maybe even just broke through our own hardness, hard hearts, and got a hold of us. How has God done that in your life? What pain has God's light broken through and shone through? What difficulties has he revealed himself in the middle of, shown himself to be in the middle of in your life? Shall we not talk of our architect and our builder? Not just the one who created us, although he did, and we can definitely speak of that, but the one who's still to this day building us, right? Shaping us, changing us, putting a different heart in us, right? That's all a daily thing. That's not just a one-time thing. That's something God's still doing with us each and every day. How do we each go into the world and talk about that? Do we do that? Or do we stay silent? Do we decide not to share our stories? Because see, each and everything that you and I have been through, the stories that we have, the good stories, the awesome moments, the mountaintop moments, and the really hard ones, the really, really bad stories that we have. And yeah, we've all got some of both, right? But all of those stories can speak of God and of God's grace and his love being there in each and every moment for us, sustaining us, carrying us through. Man, there are so many things that our lives each can personally attest to and testify of for God. Do we choose to do that? Do we choose to boldly go out there and praise his name in front of others so that they can see that in us? Let's join in all of creation. Let's join in the stones here, and let's cry out, and let's praise Jesus, and let's tell our stories and our testimonies of how God has saved us and all that God has done in our lives. God is good all the time. I love you guys.